So here we are, another Monday, and just feeling very moved and grateful for your presence and all of our presence to cultivate this practice on a regular basis. And welcome to those of you who are new to the circle. Our circle kind of fluctuates and comes and goes and moves in and out, and there have been some wonderful articles recently that have brought some new people into the fold. So this is the practice that we do every week, and I love to think of the practice of mindfulness as the ground, the basic ground that supports everything else in terms of our awakening, our process of transformation and awakening. Because the practice of mindfulness is so simple, first of all. And what it invites is for us to just keep coming back over and over, breath by breath, to the present moment, which is where life happens. We think, we get caught up in thinking that life happens sometimes in the future, or it already happened in the past, and we forget that actually this is where life happens, right here, right now. The past is gone, and the future has yet to come. And so to be present for life as it's happening, as it's arising in the moment, is the practice of mindfulness. To be mindful, to be aware of what is happening as it is happening. So if I'm sitting, I know that I am sitting. If I'm breathing, I know that I am breathing. If I am doing any of the countless activities that I do throughout the day, or having any of the feelings or thoughts or emotions that arise, these are, I'm aware. I'm not somewhere else as those things are happening, which is actually how we live our lives a lot of the time. We wake up one day and we realize, where have I been? How did I miss that? What happened? So our practice as this kind of basic ground of the path of awakening is to just keep coming back into the present moment over and over again. Every time we realize, where was I? What was I thinking? How caught up did I get? How reactive was I in that moment? You know? And we catch ourselves and we come back. And the way we come back is through the breath. That beautiful anchor for the mind that connects the body and the mind in every moment. And whenever we remember to take a conscious breath, a mindful conscious breath, it brings us back. It settles us down. And we can see more clearly where we've been, where we're going, because we're just right here. And so the breath is this incredible gift, the gift of life, that also connects us to Gaia. The life force energy of the planet that we are a part of, that we are completely and totally in relationship with every moment of our living life, every breath, So there are many, many ways to practice meditation. And I've explored many of them, as I'm sure many of you have. And we can get kind of lost in some of the practices that are out there if we don't have a stable base for our practice. So this is why we sit and we breathe and we walk and we breathe with awareness, with mindfulness, coming back over and over again to that basic ground, so that in any other practice that we might be doing, or in life, when things come at us, and they are coming at us all the time, now more than ever, when that happens, we have a reference point of how to meet the moment with presence, with awareness, with compassion, with love, with equanimity. And we don't lose our equanimity, for example, when something happens, because we've established this ground, this sacred ground, this strength, this stability in ourselves, in our core, in our presence. And we can come back to it every single time we take a conscious breath. We can remember, we can come back. We can remember the view that comes to us when we practice meditation. When we let go of, being caught up in all of our thoughts, all of our feelings, all of our thoughts, all of our plans, all of our conscious, and actually all of our unconscious habitual patterns that keep us going around and around and around. Am I making sense? You with me? Yeah, okay, good. So the practice of mindfulness is a stepping stone on the path of awakening. It's not the end result. It's a tool to train ourselves to relax, to let go, to find that place of stability and calm, which is so important. If we don't have a calm state of presence, and we don't know what that feels like, if we're always agitated, it will be very hard to progress on the path. And the stability that comes from this kind of practice is incredibly helpful. So once we have that stability that comes from a regular practice of returning over and over, connecting body, speech, and mind through the breath, body, breath, and mind, letting go of thoughts and feelings as they arise, returning to the present moment, slowing down, like when we do the walking meditation, slowing down so that we're in a rhythm with our own breath. We're not getting ahead of ourselves. To mostly live our lives way ahead of ourselves. And again, it's like, oh, wait a minute, what What happened? Where was I? I missed that. So the stability that comes from taking note of these things and just returning simply and enjoying the moment, you know, stopping long enough to take a breath, to catch our breath in the face of the busyness, and to, as Thich Nhat Hanh would say, smell the flowers, notice the blue sky, and those kinds of things. But to realize that this is a tool that we cultivate to support us in touching our true nature, which is unconditioned. And also touching into and having then the capacity, once we find that stability, and we can trust it because we know the ground, this ground, then we can start to consciously and mindfully look more deeply at some of the more difficult things. And there's a practice that is what Walter had invited me to talk about called Tonglen. It's has to do with taking in the suffering and sending out the relieving of suffering on the breath. So we can begin to then work with the breath in a different way, rather than just using it as a way to come back into the present moment and calm everything down and, you know, heal our trauma, which the breath will do. It's a very useful tool. But then we can begin to extend our awareness out for relieving the suffering of the world around us in our practice. So for example, there's a lot of anxiety in the world around us these days. There's a funny note about this. One funny note anyway. A friend of mine posted a picture. Remember that book, Good Night Moon, from childhood? There's a picture from that book and it says, "Good night, moon. Good night, Zoom. Good night, sense of impending doom." And I don't know about you, but I actually go to bed every night and wake up every morning feeling that sense of impending doom. It's really hard to shake. And it's just everywhere. So for example, with Tonglen, that sense of impending doom, the fear that is out there in the collective and in our own selves. So with Tonglen, we breathe in the suffering. We breathe in this case, the anxiety, and then we breathe out the relief of that anxiety. Calm, for example. The beautiful blue sky that happens to also be here. Or whatever comes to you, and it's not necessary in this practice to match the perfect relief for that particular form of suffering. You just choose anything, and you can imagine it as light. So the suffering is coming in as a kind of smoky, yucky, dark, cloudy stuff, and then it is going out as a sense of light, relieving that suffering. A lot of people get concerned that if they are taking in suffering, it might affect them in a negative way. You don't have to worry about that. It's not going to affect you because you're bodhicitta. your love and compassion is the best protection. And the reason we do this is because we care. So that negativity, that suffering, that, in this case, anxiety, is transformed through our hearts, through our love and caring. And we relieve that suffering. And it's a way of transforming our habitual patterns, because what we habitually want to do is push away that which we don't like, that which we want to get rid of. And we want to pull to us that which is lovely and beautiful and feels good. So this is working to transform that. And so we can practice with, there's 3 ways of practicing with this. Actually 4 ways of practicing with this. Practicing with someone that we love. We imagine someone, the anxiety that's in someone we love a lot. And we take that in and we send out the relief of that anxiety through our breath to someone we love. We can also do it with someone we're neutral about, someone we don't maybe know very well or, care all that much about, but it's kind of neutral. And then we can also do it with someone that we really have a hard time with. And it's very interesting to practice with each of those and see what happens in us and in general. And then, you can take a form of suffering that is out there, like, let's say, anxiety, just staying with that example. And then, you can be breathing in maybe with these 3 kinds of people, individuals, or then expanding out into the collective, and just really feeling the whole collective, the anxiety of the whole country or your own town or the world. And then it might become extremely overwhelming, at which point we might start, our breathing could get shallow. We could start feeling anxiety ourselves. Like, oh shit, this is really serious. And at which point, when you notice that you yourself are becoming reactive or getting triggered by that, then you turn the practice to yourself and send that relieving of suffering to your own self. And just breathe in and breathe out, taking and sending the suffering and the anxiety or whatever it is with yourself. So this is a very powerful and very, very helpful way to work with the breath. I actually had a moment today. I was out on a walk and I encountered someone who I have trouble with. And the moment I was thinking about all of this and working with it as I was doing my walking meditation with my breath. And then there she was. And I saw myself immediately react internally to this person that I have a little trouble with. And, so it's like, there it was. And so I just noticed it. And then I began not to work with her, because she's not the problem, it's me. And I breathed right into it right then and there. And it was like, So the breath can be a vehicle and a tool in so many ways. When we do the treasure vase practice, for those of you who are familiar with it, and I'll wind this up now, each of the locations that we have taken a treasure vase is a place where there's suffering of different kinds. So for me, one of the most powerful places was the Democratic Republic of Congo. The reason being because of the rape that happens there, which is unprecedented. And having my own history of rape was a very powerful place to go to focus in my practice. And, you know, this is the assignment. If we want to see healing, we need to take care of it, not only out there in a kind of conceptual way, but right in here, in our own self and in our own life experience. And this is a way that we can begin to do that work. There's a sutra from that Thich Nhat Hanh often quotes around, and it's interesting because of the snake that I had in the house today. The snake, and maybe I've mentioned this before, is the snake in the hole. And I don't remember the name of the sutra, sorry, I'm not a big scholar, but the snake represents all our reactive emotions and all that suffering and everything that's, you know, we get so activated about. Our history, our conditioning, our the distress in the world. And until we have the stability of our practice of mindfulness, our base, we're not going to be able to take the rock off the hole and let the snake out. Because the moment the snake comes out of the hole, we'll start hyperventilating. You know, we'll just be too afraid or, you know, caught up. I couldn't face my own history until I was ready. I couldn't go to Congo until I had done enough work with myself that I could go there and be of some help to others. So you know, we take the rock off the hole slowly, slowly. And we keep coming back to the present moment. We don't let ourselves get too far ahead of ourselves or think that we should be more than what we are. But there's a lot of suffering in the world. There's a pandemic going on. There's so much injustice that has been surfacing lately in so many ways. Beirut just exploded. You know, we have friends and family dying of cancer, if not corona. The economy, I mean, you know, it could just go on and on. And these are impacting us all the time. So this is a way of working with taking that in and transforming it and sending out that which will relieve. Imagine it, see it in vividness, feel it, work with it. And if it becomes too difficult, then turn it and give it to yourself. Meanwhile, we come back to our breath. Just simply, no big deal, over and over and over again. Taking our seat, returning to the presence of the Sangha, the community of support, this beautiful blue-green planet we call home, which is still here. And take another step, another breath. Taking strength. And not spacing out when we meditate, but really being awake to the opportunity that we have to contribute to the change and the transformation that is being asked of us, with joy, because we're here at this time to do this amazing work of awakening. to what is. Okay? If you have your texts for the opening verses, you can bring them out. I'm going to go offer some incense, and we'll begin with the opening verses, and then we'll do our sitting meditation, walking meditation, sitting again, and come back to the circle at the end.